What is up, Terran brethren? How is everybody doing? My name is Dragoon. We're back with the silver video. I am sorry for the long delay. I had school, work, and finals. But now that those are wrapping up, well, not work, but school is, and finals went pretty well. So I'm trying to get you guys the silver video. Here it is today. So what you're going to get in this video is you're going to get the silver build order, which is here in the first, very beginning of the video. That was some of the things I wanted to address from bronze. I'm not going to pander. I'm not going to waste time. You guys can probably hear my voice sounds a little weird. Sort of lost my voice talking through this video today. Like 18 minutes of tips in the back half talking about matchup specifics and tips for each of the potential encounters you may find with this build. Now, all we're adding in the silver version of the build is Engineering Bay and Armory, which is going to get us 1-1 and 2-2. The upgrades are really going to help us seal the deal in silver and have our pushes hurt even more. Yeah, so with that in mind, you guys, I'm not going to talk too long. The build order is going to start here just in a bit. If you want to skip right to the tips, I'll have annotations at the bottom of the screen. Beyond that, you can check out my second channel where I'll be uploading demonstration games of a lot of matches that I had in silver. All right, I will see you in the build order, coming now. Get ready in 3, 2, 1, build an SCV. This is the build order tutorial for the 15 gas expand. Build an SCV. For the silver level, you should have 8 out of 11 supply. Use this time to set hotkey locations and camera positions on the map. Build another SCV. Set the rally of your command center to your ramp. The next SCV is going to build a supply depot. Buy another SCV and build a supply depot. The SCV production should remain constant through this early game period. Build another SCV. Build another SCV. Now at 12 supply. At 150 minerals, build a barracks at your wall off. And buy another SCV. Prioritize the closest mineral patches and try and get 2 workers to work on the closest mineral patches. Build another SCV. This is called mineral stacking, and it will get you a faster return. You should be at 14 supply now. Set the rally point of your command center to one of your gas geysers. Build another SCV and build a gas. This is the 15 gas. Queue up one more SCV. And build a marine. Set the rally of your command center to your wall off. Put 2 guys in gas. Start an orbital command and build a supply depot. The SCV who finished your barracks is now scouting your opponent. Build another marine. We're going to be having 2 marines in total, and then building a reactor on the barracks. Set the rally of the SCV building the depot down to your natural. And when your command center finishes, begin SCV and drop a mule. Use this portion to scout with your SCV. Drop a reactor on your barracks, and at 400 minerals, begin an expansion at your natural. And then resume SCV production. Pretty simple. Build a barracks. And build a depot. When your reactor completes, we're going to want to build 2 marines. Make sure SCV production is constant. If you ever get to a point in the build where you need to choose between a marine or an SCV, choose marine 95% of the time. Just kidding. No, macro. Choose SCVs, guys. Build your 3rd barracks. You can get that third barracks a little bit earlier if you care to, or you can get it right about the time that your 2 Marines are coming out. Your first 2 Marines out of the reactor. Continuous SCV production. Get ready to transfer 6 SCVs down to your natural as it is about to complete. Build 2 more Marines and start an orbital command on your natural. Transfer the workers. You right-click 6 guys down to the mineral patch, hit the S key if you're on grid, and they will return the minerals to the closest base. Continue building Marines and SCVs. This all should seem very familiar. When the barracks finishes, drop a tech lab and a reactor.
Upgrade complete.
Scan your opponent. Build 2 engineering bays. Halt Marine production.
Add-on complete.
When your tech lab finishes, start stim pack. Begin 2 depots. When your engineering bay is complete, research +1 attack and +1 armor. We can now ease our way back into Marine production, but we probably won't have all 3 churning at the same time. We're waiting now for 100 gas. At 100 gas, we're going to get a factory. We're now letting our gas time our build out, which is very important. At 100 gas, begin your factory.
Gas.
Continuous SCV production. Build a depot and take your 3rd, 4th gas. Or I guess 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. So take the rest of your gas. You'll have 4 gas in total. So after we get our factory, we get 3 gas. Brings us to 4 gas. Simple. Yes. Build another depot. Good rule of thumb is once you have hit 2 bases in this stage of production, 2 depots at a time. Transfer your workers into the gas. If you're on 3 base, 3 depots at a time. It's easy to keep track of. Continuing Marine production and SCV production. Build another depot. The depots were now going to be in the background. When the factory completes, build a starport and drop a reactor off of the factory. Immediately build an armory. This is very important because we want to get right into our +2/+2 upgrades. By dropping the armory when our 1-1 is about halfway done, it's going to finish up around the same time. For a very hard-hitting attack. If you've been used to the bronze level build, all we're doing in this is adding the E-bays. By getting 2-2, this build becomes even more dangerous. Continuous SCVs and Marines, as well as depots at this point. Swap your factory with the starport. Now the starport, build 2 medevacs. Keep SCV production and Marines going.
Not enough minerals.
Start +2/+2.
Enough minerals.
And continue building depots.
Not enough minerals.
2 more medevacs, which will bring us to a total of 4 when these complete. At this point in the game, we have a pretty darn nice infrastructure.
Gas. Not enough minerals.
Keep building depots, Marines, and
Not
SCVs.
enough minerals.
Start combat shields. At 4 medevacs, begin your push out onto the map. Do not lose this army. At this point in the build, there's a few options. What we're going to do is expand. Build a 3rd command center inside your base. Our next goal is 2 more barracks, which will bring us to a total of 5.
Not enough energy.
Keep building units. Try and keep depots smooth. Pressure your opponent if you can, but don't lose this army. So the goal from here: research orbital command when your command center finishes, and when it finishes orbital command research, take your third base. You also want to get up to 9 barracks. So when you have the money, add 4 more barracks. Do not rush this step though, and it's game dependent when you take it. You want to be on 9 barracks because that is a nice amount of replenishment to have while you're out fighting. Eventually, when we're on 3 bases, we can work up to 13 barracks. But for now, I'm going to let you guys play the build out. This is already going to be quite a challenge to hit these timings. But if you can absolutely make sure you're hitting 1-1 into 2-2 consistently and smooth, you will do very well. I'll see you in the matchup descriptions. Boy, am I excited to talk this one through. TVT standard games. The things I want to mention for you to focus on. Scanning ahead. That 11-minute push, you cannot lose it, so please do not try and force a death blow if it's not available. The push is to do 2 things. Number 1, and most important, take your third base and let you power up. At the same time, it gives you map control. That map control is used to help you macro up. This is continuing the build as smoothly and as quickly as possible, all while having your army out there on the map, not suiciding them, not trying to kill the guy. But this map control is doing a couple of things. It's allowing you to harass or know if he's taking a 3rd or 4th base, which you do want to try and delay him on those actions. And it also keeps him at home, most likely. It keeps him back, it keeps him scared. Oh, the concave. Something I wish I would have known. So the idea of the concave is, if you spread your units out, you're going to have more surface area to fire from. Look at the yellow dots. They cannot fire. The guys in the back row cannot. Yet all the blue guys have fire coming in. The way you achieve this with bio is by spreading your units out before you fight and attack move clicking behind them so they converge on that point. There's a lot of information online about this, but I think it's pretty self-explanatory. Just don't stem a ball into tanks, okay? It can be quite easy to do, and we'll talk about tanks a little bit at the end of this section. So, the initial scan at 6 minutes is critical. What this does is it reveals to you his plan. It gives you a clue. Because since we're playing a fast expand style play, if he's going to 1-base you, it's going to be hard to hold on if you're not prepared. I use a second scan sometimes, rarely, but sometimes to confirm if he has expanded or not, if I can't use an SCV and I need to know. In this case, I did need to know because it was a bio all-in. I responded with bunkers and then tried to follow up smoothly. I'll go over this set of clips in a little bit. Now, what's important is macro over micro. This is a concept players struggle with. If you had to prioritize your build or unit control, it's always your build. It's always going to be smoothly and consistently producing units, so keep that in mind. Now, if his early aggression fails to do a significant amount of damage, your follow-up Minivac timing push will outright just win games. The Terran player's investment into the all-in, whatever it may be, or into the early pressure must pay him back in dividends in order for him to succeed. Now, sometimes cheeses will outright win, but when they don't and you hold them, be confident in the fact that your macro build should be able to A, come back and win, if not even just bring you into a nice standard mid-game. Now remember, Marines are easier to replenish than tanks, so keep this in mind when fighting a tank-heavy army. Never commit to a fight with tanks if total obliteration is a risk. This fight I just took was a bad fight. I thought I had a big enough arc, I thought I had enough Marines to do damage. Now, behind this, I'm on 4 bases with a ton of barracks, expanding up to a 5th base. So I can sort of throw Marines away and get away with it. I wouldn't recommend it. I probably would have handled that fight a little bit differently if I had more knowledge. Now, the thing with tanks, they're immobile. They're slow. And the part with bio that's so great is they are quick. They are mobile. They can attack here and do little bits of damage here. They can attack there or go all over the map. So if he's turtled or contained in his base, you have a huge advantage. You get to expand, expand, expand while maintaining this strong map presence. Don't suicide the army. Don't do anything silly unless you have the goods and the barracks to replenish it. If you're on 5 bases and you have 13 to 19 barracks, you're going to be getting huge production cycles and going to be able to reproduce Marines much faster than him, who's on 3 bases, who's starving for money, who has decided, I'm just going to lock up here with tanks. And this guy had a good tank setup. Throughout all of Silver, the biggest priority I want you to really focus on is map control in terms of moving your units. Controlling the watchtowers is everything, because with tanks and a lot of different units, you have to catch them out of position. I had control of the 2 Xel'Naga watchtowers. So I want you to look at the minimap. This is why I prioritize the towers in so many games. I can see when his army is pushing across the map. His tanks out of position, unsieged, and vulnerable in the middle of the map. This is when you will laugh, when you start figuring out how to catch the Terran with tanks with his pants down, because it's hard. You can't engage into tanks that are already sieged up. So with that in mind, guys, map control, macro, and a lot of things that are going to repeat. But that's it for standard games. Time to look at the cheeses. Oh, yes. The amount of cheese. Terran has a lot. Terran has many different options in the beginning of the game, and some of them are hard. So with the 111, our initial scan is looking for a factory and a starport. In this scan, I did not get very lucky with my positioning, but I did see a tech lab. Now this is easy to confuse with Banshees. Why? Because it looks pretty much the same. Starport, barracks, factory, and a tech lab. But the response for the 111 is taking map control. You must know when he leaves his base to try and intercept his marines and tank and possibly medevac. If he sieges and contains you, his opener has already successfully served his purpose. He's going to slow you down. He's going to be able to expand behind it. Build tanks of your own, delay 1-1, and get a starport to potentially get Vikings out if necessary. And the follow-up push for this almost always will win. But if you noticed, you can even jump back and take a look. My map control of the 2 towers revealed when he pushed across the map. Your goal is to identify that a push is coming, take map control, and then intercept that siege tank before he can get there. If that siege tank gets there and sieges up, it did its job. It's already succeeded. So you have to get out there and battle with it on the map. Don't lose the Marines, but just slow the tank down. Okay, the bio all-in that I was talking about earlier, and you saw a clip of it. Now, I use 2 scans here. Please don't make this regular because you really want the minerals from the mule, but I needed to know. I scanned, I saw 3 barracks, all producing. By confirming no expansion, we know this is some bio all in. What I do is I send a Marine or 2 onto the map to identify when the push is coming. Notice the Marine gives me a nice clue. I'm allowed to get my SCVs up to the bunkers that I've built specifically to hold this. Alt-C turns on auto repair, basically, for the SCVs. And after the bunkers have been repaired and you've succeeded, you get to laugh all the way to the bank, continue with the build, and the follow-up push will most likely just win you the game. This is like a 13 gas all-in is usually what it is. It pushes with Marines, Marauders. He could have pulled SCVs if he wanted to, but as I noted earlier, this follow-up medevac push in silver and gold will usually win. If he's turtled up, though, at tanks, please do not sacrifice your army trying to secure an insta-win. Instead, just play normal, take a 3rd and 4th base accordingly, power up, and smile. Quite frankly, though, I don't run into this build very often, so I don't think it'll come up on ladder that much. Oh boy. Reapers. These can be tricky to identify, they are annoying, and they are a test of your multitasking, but they should not lose you games. Absolutely should not lose you games, especially with this build. This build, you can definitely hold them off. This guy went for a lot of Reapers, and his goal was to attack in 2 places at once, at the natural and at the main. I would expect this as pretty much commonplace. So what we have to do then is have 2 sets of Marines, 1 at the natural, 1 at the high ground. Remember, in the early game when Reapers are approaching, you need to have them on the cliff. So, keep our Marines positioned on the high ground above cliffs. Make sure 2 separate groups, 1 for each base. Or our other option, which I'm going to go over in the gold video, is getting a 21 factory into Hellions, using our reactor from the barracks to pump out 4 Hellions very quickly. I'm going to be teaching this later, so don't worry. But if you already know about innovation style 15 gas Hellion Marine expand, it's very similar. Hellions will trash Reapers. Again, there comes a point where Reapers are no longer effective and it's a waste of money. In silver and in gold, most players' follow-up pushes will be easy to crush and either set you up for a very standard mid-game with some advantages, or you might just outright win. So don't let Reapers get you down. If you lose to them, it's okay. There's a thin line in the early game when it's tough. But you should, over time, build up enough experience to be able to shut them down. In the follow-up of this game, he was trying to transition into mech play, but he also did a 2-base pressure follow-up. Since it is silver, as I noted a lot in the bronze video, players of this skill level have yet to sort of realize that early pressure doesn't always have to be all in, and silver level players cannot transition out of these kind of builds smoothly. Maybe the rare occurrence, but you don't quite see that until higher up on the ladder. Oh, the banshees. So you scan and you see a factory and a starport and a tech lab. This can sort of vary. There's different variants of it. Sometimes they hide them. Usually they hide them. Sometimes it looks like a 1-1-1, but your response, if you confirm that it's Vikings, is an eBay immediately. And you have to have 2 groups of Marines, one for the natural and one for the main. You want to begin saving scans because he can still pick off buildings in your base. Like he's going to pick off a reactor of mine. I'm not going to build a turret just for a reactor. It's a waste of money. It's a waste of money. So keep those scans saved until the time when they show up, that 6 to 8 minute mark time, and then continue on from there. Now, banshees are very expensive, and they have to do damage. So try to not let them do damage, which can be kind of hard, especially if the player is fully microing them. But just know most silver level players cannot micro and macro at the same time. So you can sort of assume that his macro is not as refined as yours. Definitely he's further behind. But try and continue with this build as normal. That's going to be the statement across all the board. He can do follow-up pressures. You can have Hellions after this, and you can have all sorts of weird wonky stuff. But most of the time, the Banshee is used to let the Terran player get a second and third base. In this game, he's only going for a second base, and I believe he follows up with mech play. I think that's what it is. But I'm scanning ahead with my medevac timing push, and all I'm trying to do is take my third base, as usual, and I'm looking to see if he's taken his third base or if I can just sort of deny map control. I get lucky, and basically his army's out of position, all of his stuff is grouped up, siege tanks aren't sieged, and at that point I had enough to win the game. Now this will change in gold, but the important thing is macro, 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 macro. It's the hardest part of Terran, you guys, is constantly building things. Even though we're still playing the game, your focus has to be on continuing that build, continuing production, avoiding supply blocks, all those things. So in wrapping up, Terran versus Terran is an awesome matchup. It's just very diverse. They can do a lot of things, you can do a lot of things, and each one requires certain subtle responses and playstyles. The things to avoid though, you guys. Sacrificing armies to tanks. Please don't stem a small little ball into a bunch of tanks, and then whine that it's the build's fault. It is not, my friend. It is not. Try not to sacrifice too many armies, but I do want to note this, guys. Everybody, when you're learning the limits of this game, what fights you can take, what fights you can't take, stem into tanks, lose armies, and lose games right then and there. Your macro could be beautiful, but if you're still making really bad engagement choices, use it as a learning experience. Don't let it get you down. TVZ. One of my favorite matchups. So, your initial scout is going to do a few things. You're checking for a natural. If he has no natural, it's an early pool play. 6, 8, 10, 11, take your pick. And you need to get a bunker at the top of your ramp. It's a one-base play. It's going to kill you. No, it's pretty easy to identify, and you can pretty easily stop it. Also, we're looking at his gas count. We're looking at his spawn pool timing. But we're always checking for a third base. Always, always, always. Because that's a big clue with Zerg. They want to be one base up from us. Now, our 6-minute scan reveals a Baneling nest and no third base. This 90% of the time is a Baneling bust. That 2-base, 3-base thing is really important because the Zerg, if you're on 2-base, should be on 3-base. They should be getting into 3-base fairly early into the game. Otherwise, it's going to be a bust. But remember, they can transition out of these bust-style plays. But that's a lot of units pretty early in the game when I'm making my initial push out. Moving out against Zerg is hard with bio. Very hard. Why? Because you have to watch your army like a frickin' hawk. You can lose a bio ball in 1 second to a misclick against Banelings. Also, this is the only matchup that I'm going to recommend you get Widow Mines in right now with this build. So after you've gotten your medevacs out, you're going to get a reactor on your factory, and you're going to pump them out. Pump out the little spider mines. Behind us, spider mines, we're expanding. So our goal with TVZ is not to walk right into their base and kill them, because we can't do that. No, we have to clear creep tumors. This is as valuable as kills. Never take an entire ball on the creep. Do not engage on creep unless necessary, because Baneling sandwiches, they're awful. I hate them. Disgusting. This is a complicated matchup, and I'm going to go over it more in gold, just like I'm going to go over Protoss a little bit more in gold. But it's a really rewarding matchup. I think it's very even. When I say splitting of the units, know that I'm pre-splitting. I'm not doing marine splits. My micro's not that good. But just avoiding certain things like having your whole army on creep and having them all clumped up. Notice, these are not pro splits. These are pretty bad splits. But you can still do a lot of damage with these kind of splits. And you have to if he's playing Ling, Bane, Muta. Now, your goal in TVZ with Bio is to keep the Zerg on mid-game tech. We want to kill creep tumors. We want to make it hard for him to get a 4th and 5th base, but most importantly, our goal is to keep him away from Ultralisks as long as possible. It's my favorite matchup, you guys. But you are a mid-game army, so if he gets to high-end tech, it's going to be hard. Oh my gosh. Protoss. Okay, so this matchup right now is hard. I wanted to say messed up. It's kind of messed up. But in Silver, your initial scout is looking for Chrono Boost. You want to see where the Chrono Boost is. If he has a bunch saved up on his Nexus, he's probably saving it for some kind of pressure. If he's using the Chrono Boost on the Nexus, be happy, because he's pumping out probes. That probably means he's macroing. Yes, there's other clues. 4 gates, proxy oracles, and mothership core harass are important to note. I go over that in the 15 gas build video. I don't want to go over it again until the gold video because it's just dudes and ladies. This matchup is hard. There's a lot of possibilities. Now, here's my 11-minute army. What I usually want to do with this 11-minute army is slow him from getting a 3rd. Well, he's already got a 3rd. I've already scanned ahead and he has Colossus. But one thing that Protoss is not good with is mobility. They are immobile. It's very hard for them to be in multiple places at once. So, we are going to try and pressure him with drops. These drops are not to get a bunch of kills, although it is nice. It is to allow us to tech up, get more stuff, and expand. We cannot let the Protoss get to the late game, because right now, Protoss late game is nigh unstoppable for Silver players. You must try and delay this late game as much as you can. If they reach their ideal army, Colossus, High Templar, and everything else, it's going to be insanely hard to deal with. Ghost Micro, Viking Micro, and making the right building choices at the right time is really advanced for a Silver level Terran player. In this game, he's there. He has High Templar, he has Colossus. I decided to pull my SCVs. This has become a common strat with a lot of Terrans who are struggling to beat certain Protoss army compositions. I will talk about Protoss in the demonstration game, although out of the 15 games I played in Silver, I only played 1 Protoss and 10 Terrans, so keep that in mind. I'll go over this matchup more in the future, but the things to note, please avoid the pitfalls of frustration, as this matchup is going to improve. I think it's the hardest right now, and you're dealing with 2 very volatile armies that usually end the game with one big fight. Don't let losses discourage you in this matchup, and try not to join in with the Protoss hate hype. Things will balance itself out with time, and I will go over this further. It's going to be easier when we get gold 2. Not 2, but as well. And with that, I know it's not all the matchup details, but I hope I could cover a pretty wide gamut there for you. Now, on my backup channel, I will be doing demonstration games where I actually go over the games that I played, and you guys can hear commentary, you can see more detailed feedback, and you can see additional games that weren't featured here. I upload mainly StarCraft 2 over there, and more of it there than I do here. My main channel features FPS content and has a wider range audience than my backup channel. So if you're looking for further information or video or content towards this build or towards StarCraft 2 and Terran, you'll find it over there. Also, I'll be streaming some probably in the next week, and when I come back from Christmas break, I'll be doing some Terran stuff. And the stream link is down in the description below. Other than that, I'll be working on the gold video over the next few weeks during Christmas break and trying to bring you guys that information as well. If you do have questions for me, 2 things. I'm slow with replies because I work and I'm a college student or uni student. And the other thing is, please attach a replay. If you're going to have a question, sign up for GG Tracker, upload the replay there, because it's very hard for me to speculate when somebody says this build doesn't work against Zerg. When it totally does work against Zerg, I need details, and a replay gives me details a lot easier than me asking 20 questions. Thanks, guys, for watching. Good luck on the ladder. I'm losing my voice. But remember, cherries are good. I don't know. Thanks. Good luck. Bye.